Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. Hope you're well wherever you are. It took me ages to actually motivate myself to get around to making this video as usual, as I often say, because I've been procrastinating quite a bit, trying to think of some ideas, and I know I do repeat quite a lot of my ideas, but I probably did mention quite a lot of these ideas quite a long time ago. So anyway, I'll try not to waffle, as I often say, and be too repetitive, which is another weakness of mine. But please do leave your comments or any like constructive criticism, suggestions, or anything like that. And yeah, so here goes. Obviously, a lot of time I make these now 4-part videos where I chop them up into 4 parts, so they're not hopefully not too long. So yeah, these are my general dreams for Inter Milan as a fan of Italian football generally, with my quirky patterns and habits and my imagination, things like that, my dyslexic creativity and imagination, and also like including how to get investors and sponsors into Italian football, such as Inter Milan. In these videos, I hope to focus on Inter Milan, and on Monday the 13th, I hope to focus on AC Milan, and then the week after that, all being well, I hope to come up with some ideas for Monza as well on Mondays. I did want to finish this on Mondays, but I didn't quite get around to it because I got a bit tired and it got too late, so I decided to leave it for a bit, and then this was probably about the best day, and I had a bit of writer's block, so I thought I'd make these videos. But yeah, I did make some on Facebook as well, so if you can find me on Facebook, please check those out, and I'd be so grateful if you would watch them and share them and leave comments and help me to promote my ideas and that sort of thing. I really appreciate it, and I hope I'll be able to return the favour perhaps if you want me to do similar for your videos. Anyway, here goes. So number 21, I would love for as many people as possible around the world to find out about Inter Milan and its history. Its name, it's how the name came about, the symbols, its logos, worst defeats, biggest successes. I know you can probably Google a lot of this info, but I would love for I encourage you to Google it and that sort of thing. So I hope to promote Italian football around the world, and that sort of thing. But yeah, and the reason why Inter Milan became Inter Milan Internationale, is short for Internationale Milan, is because AC Milan wanted to be just for Italians, and Inter Milan wanted to be more international, hence Inter Milan. So I think it'd be quite fitting if international companies invested into, or had shares in, and equity and sponsored is what I was looking for as well. Inter Milan. Number 22. Yeah, if some invest, hopefully more will invest, and hopefully in the future it'll be. I hope for Italian teams like Inter Milan to have access to invest in the club, to have shares and equity in the club and sponsor the club, make it as easy as possible, offering things like tax exemptions, which I talked about before, access to the market and things like that. And I think it'd be cool if like the fashion industry and all sorts of different companies invested into Italian teams. Like I think the Inter Milan part of Milan, it'd be great if people from that area, and also like the politicians and councillors from that area, invested into the club, and like maybe companies could even give 10% of their revenue to the club and like use it as part of their PR. Local companies in that area of Inter Milan, obviously AC Milan areas could do the same for AC Milan, and as I say, local councils within that region in Inter Milan areas where there's more Inter Milan fans could donate 10% of their revenue, perhaps, or even profits, or even revenue to Inter Milan local politicians, and as well as the council. And as I mentioned, again, I probably mentioned this before, but I think that as far as I'm aware, a lot of football teams in Italy, I think most of them are not owned by the clubs. Whereas, like say for instance, Man United, when fans go to watch games and they spend money at the club, at the stadium at Old Trafford, the club generates lots of money, whereas an Italian team only generates half. So if Inter Milan took gate receipts, or people spending the money, and they spent like between them like, let's say 50 million or something, the club would only get half of that, so 25 million. Whereas Man United, getting the same revenue, would get to keep all the revenue they make before taxes. So I think it'd be cool if not only Italian teams were exempt from taxes, but also actually instead of taking from their profits, I think it'd be great if like the council and the politicians actually looked at how they can legally, within the rules of the game, put money into the club. 23. On that note, I think that it'd be cool if Italian football, such as Italian teams like Inter Milan, and possibly even Celtic as well. I know they're not an Italian team, but as a fan of Italian teams and Celtic, I think it'd be great if they worked with FIFA and UEFA to say if 10% of their revenue or profits, either revenue or profits, possibly even revenue, which I suppose would be higher before profit, before obviously money's taken out, which after losses, obviously, I'm not an expert in business, but even if they were tax exempted, I imagine their profit would still not be as much as their revenue. I imagine. But yeah, if they donated 10% of their revenue towards charities and good causes around the world, like in parts of developing countries, like parts of Africa and Asia, I think that it'd be cool if FIFA and UEFA, if they were part of football for good, along with Celtic, I think it'd be great if Italian teams had more ability to attract investment legally without being penalised, unlike Man City or other teams, or what's happened to, ironically, perhaps Juventus. But maybe if Juventus and other Italian teams agreed to give, as I say, 10% of the revenue away, then FIFA and UEFA would allow them to keep as much profits, because a lot of that would be going to do good, but the rest of it they could keep, so that the 90% they get to keep would be, as well as being tax exempt, hopefully international companies in this case would be able to invest into Inter Milan, and in return for the club giving to charity, let's say 10% of the profits or revenue even. I think it'd be great if there was some sort of way Italy could invite investors in and be able to bypass financial fair play in a legal way, not by cheating the system, but by being part of the system, but having those agreements. Number 24, on that note, I think it'd be great if Italy had its own version of Davos and was like the football version of the Swiss. I don't know why I did that speech once, but yeah, I suppose it could be a quote. The football version of the Swiss, where they, as a football version of the Swiss, they invited companies from around the world, like the PIF, African sovereign wealth funds, Asian sovereign wealth funds, and sovereign wealth funds around the world to come to Italy, and in this case Milan, and to and maybe the San Siro itself, Milan's stadium, or the club itself could host those potential investors and talk about what those investors want. Like maybe they would probably want to hide their money and assets from things like the taxman, but hopefully they do so legally. So again, I go back to legal, and maybe even like hide their money in case of divorce and things like, which I haven't talked about. But I'd love for Italian teams like Inter Milan, but Italian teams to do that generally. And yeah, I think, as I say, it'd be cool if they could offer those tax exemptions, access to the markets, and things like that. But yeah, if Italy had its own version of Davos, but only for football, and like the COP26, I think it was 2021. In 2021, a year later than planned because of COVID or something like that, they had, if I'm not mistaken, they had the COP26 events in Italy. And if I would have planned my ideas better at that time, I would have loved to have promoted that idea back then. So like when all these big businesses and countries or governments and stuff like that went to Italy for COP26, I think it'd be cool if they would have had an event where they invited investment into football. And I think it'd be cool if they did stuff like that in the future. It could be other things, not just COP26, but Italy's own version of, like, although Italy's already part of COP26, I think it'd be cool if Italy could have similar things to that, and also Davos and things like that, their own version. So, but this specifically for football. So like so Italy could remain neutral in war, which I would love for all Mediterranean countries, as well as Eurasian, transcontinental, and Mid-Eastern countries generally, as I often mention again. But in Italy's case, I think it'd be great if it was like football investment. So like the Swiss with financial markets, Italy could do similar, but for football investment, perhaps. Maybe, again, it could be pipe dream, but I thought, anyway, as with all these dreams and ideas of mine. Number 25, I think it'd be cool if, as I say, companies around the world sponsored and invested into Italian teams, and invested into and sponsored Italian teams, whichever order you want to put it in. And hopefully that would attract the best possible players, coaches, managers to teams like, and that sort of thing, to teams like Inter, managers, coaches, players, and that sort of thing. And also including at the youth level, and also developing good Italian players as well. And hopefully that would attract investment from around the world. And at the same time, if Italian football teams play a bit more entertaining, attractive football, enterprising as I call it, and also won trophies, hopefully that would encourage increase the fan base around the world, which hopefully in turn will have a circular effect or not a knock-on effect, which will mean even more investment into the clubs because we'll have fans around the world. Um, Number 20, including my fellow Anglo-Indians or other Eurasians, I hope will help to promote Italian teams. Number 26, I think it'd be good if Italian football teams like Inter Milan, as say, give back to countries that were colonised by Italy. Italy could also have its own version of like the Commonwealth, but for football. Number 27, I think it'd be cool if Inter Milan fans like supported companies that invested into a club, and there could be lists of companies that like on the website, on the internet club's website, or even on YouTube videos. It could talk about giving thanks to those who have sponsored the club or benefited the club in some way. Number 28, I hope that this will help to transform Italian football fortunes and bring it back to its glory days and that sort of thing. But I hope Italian football will do a lot for good, like tackling corruption, match fixing, corruption in football, and tackling poverty and other things like that. So it would help Italian football to do more positive things. And again, I may have mentioned this point, so please forgive me for repeating a lot of points. But I think it'd be cool if Inter Milan helped immigrants to Italy. I mean, I suppose some people might say it's irresponsible to encourage illegal immigration. I don't support illegal immigration, but I think people who do come in who are migrants or refugees, I think it would be good to at least give them some positive things and like help their children to get into football and things like that. So the academy could help more migrants to get into football and things like that, and maybe give more rights to immigration or access to the country for those who are good at football. Number 29, again, I hope for my fellow Anglo-Indians and other Eurasians, as well as neurodiverse people, to support Italian clubs like Inter Milan and to help to promote it around the world, to help promote Italian teams like Inter Milan and Serie A generally, the Italian league, of course, in around the world. And number 30, as ever, I'd love to hear your ideas. And again, I think in terms of doing good for the world, I think it'd be good if that money was at least 10% of it was going towards doing good things. I think it would be worthy of tax exemptions and more opportunities for investors to investors and sponsors. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling, and I wish you a good day or evening or afternoon or whatever, wherever you are, and I am out. Peace and love.